And we're back.
Welcome back, sir. It's been what, only a month?
Feels like an eternity.
I think it was exactly what the doctor ordered. I think we come back with a little bit of refocus and a little bit more clarity on what our purpose is here.
Hey, you needed a break. We needed some time. So we'll see.
Well, I
See how it
think it was
works
good
out.
for I do think it was good for us. I like our conversation last week, just us on the phone was good,
Yeah.
coming up with
Yeah.
a topic for this week, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're gonna dive into the topic, and then instead of just being a conversation about our lives, it's going to be a conversation about that topic. I think that's chef's kiss.
Sounds good. Based off our conversation last week, it sounded like you had a lot of new hurdles in your life. A lot of new things you had to juggle. And what it sounded like was those new things, I don't want to say took priority, but it was almost like you couldn't control it, and it was almost like you were struggling to find that ground for yourself because everything else was pulling you in so many directions. And one thing that you said was just like like you just didn't have time to do anything, and the time you did have, you felt like you were lacking that like, well, let's say discipline. Yeah, that's what we got into last week when we were just talking.
Yeah, so like
Discipline to
my
kind of just
my
take things easy
purpose,
too.
right? So like our topic this week is like that lack of purpose, and my struggles or my thoughts about it have been like when I'm coaching the kid. Well, I'm moving into coaching and doing all that stuff. Like when I'm doing coaching, like, and I'm going to these events, and my goal is to lead by example and make everybody else better, and that fulfills my purpose, right? Like that makes me feel good inside. Because I do think that I can help the younger generation through the roller coaster of the life of baseball. But then I come home and I'm away from those events, and so like pro ball was every day, right? Like pro ball was every day you were there, you were grinding, so like the purpose never left. Here you get like 3, 4, or 5 days in between tournaments, and sometimes a week whenever you have time off. So like I would struggle to get out of bed. I would struggle to find my purpose on those days that like I didn't have to go coach a game or I didn't have to go do this or that. And so that's kind of where it stemmed from. To give you a little background, so it was like how does each day evolve in order to, even though I'm not going to be surrounded by anybody, to still fulfill that purpose of making myself better for everybody else. That's kind of where I'm
Well,
at.
are you making yourself better for everyone else, or are you making yourself better for yourself, and then in turn, that rubs off on other people?
Well, I think
You
that's the
know?
way it should. That's exactly the way it should be. I should go out to do these things for myself, right, so that I can
Yeah,
teach
yeah.
other people. But sometimes I get in the crosshairs of what I'm doing, and to me, it's kind of how my family operates, right? And my family operates my like the way my mother operates is for everybody else, right? And we fail to take care of ourselves trying to take care of everybody else. And like that has always been my message, not always, but lately been my message to my mother is like you have to take care of you so you can take care of everybody else. And I think I need a taste of my own medicine there.
I can see that for sure. So you think
You
that
know,
rubs?
so
Do you
like
think that's a? Is that more of like off a whim, like first pass approximation, or is that more of like you journaling that kind of stuff and you figured out?
honestly that was just me talking and thinking about it right here right now.
Sounded like it, honestly. I've never heard you say that before. Never heard you make that analogy, and it makes perfect sense.
I mean, and that's why I love these conversations is because they do help, and getting involved with them and diving into like things of this nature like do bring out my ideas and thoughts that maybe I don't even know if I've put that down on paper. But like I between last week and this week, I sat down and I dove into lack of purpose. I was like, what is my why? Was my question to myself, and I wrote a page and a half on it. And
What'd you
you
find?
know,
What'd you find
I
out?
well, I just read it right
Wait,
before we got
just real
on.
quick, just real quick, I don't want to cut you off, but if you can like hold the mic either like further away, that's like really muffly. I'm not sure if it's the mic or if it's whatever is going on, but I just want to see if that helps. I can edit, but I just want to see if that helps.
Right here, right here, right here,
That
right
sounds a little
here.
better actually. That sounds better actually, yeah. What did you find when you journaled?
Okay, kind of exactly what I thought I would find is like my purpose. What kind of what I just went through is like my purpose. I feel like right now in my life is helping those around me, or like, and even in my career throughout my 29 years of life, have been making those around me better. And again, like the correlation I just make is I have to make myself better in order to help those around me, because like eventually
Yeah.
those around me are going to surpass me.
So, what part? This is what just came to mind, right? Like your whole life, you're trying to make other people around you better, and when you're in a situation like you are in pro ball, or in a situation like you were in college, and we're around our peers to a certain extent are equal to us. Not saying there's always, but in terms of just like teammate basis, like there are equals. We're teammates. We're on the same team. We're achieving the same thing, right? So when you're trying to make everyone better around you, it's not like you're talking down to them. If you're doing it the right way as a teammate, you're talking to each other. You're like leading by example, but like you're doing your thing because you're trying to go out there and have success on your own, and like hopefully by doing the right things people will follow you. That's how you become like a leader on a team. Like people will follow you and start doing the things you're doing that you're just doing the better yourself, but it's like you lead by example. But as a coach, there's a very distinct line where it's like you're not talking down to the players, but you're the authority. So when you're having conversations with teammates, right, and you're talking like you have those conversations with Kieran, you're having those conversations in the dugout with John, right? Like you're going back and forth, but like you're not telling them, and they have stuff to tell you. You listen to them because maybe they have stuff that you can learn from. I'm not saying you can't learn from a 14-year-old, but the conversation is different. Even if you're getting the deep conversation, you're the guy that's supposed to have the wisdom. You're the guy that's supposed to give the example, because what does a 14-year-old know? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mean that to be disrespectful to them, but if a 14-year-old's telling you about their daily routine, odds are you're not going to take away much from that conversation about a 14-year-old's daily routine. It's like, so
Well, right,
did you
and I
find
don't think.
that that is anything to do with it? Like, you kind of have to always be that guy, and you can't let the guard down and almost like want to learn from them. And I don't mean that to sound like you don't want to learn ever, but you know what I mean? Like it's a kid and you're the adult, and like they're looking to you for the advice. They're looking for you for the wisdom, and you're the conversation is very one way, one sided. When you get into those deeper conversations, does that make any
Yeah,
sense?
very much. No, it does make sense, and like a coincidental story to go along with that is I was getting into something along those lines. We were taking our pregame BP, and obviously one guy's hitting, and we have 10 guys just sitting around, and other coach was throwing BP, so. It's just kind of the time I take to, get to know the guys, like spread what I think. And one of the guys I was into it. I was like, guys, like, one of our players comes to the shows up every day, puts his heart on his sleeve, and just plays the game hard. And I was like, if we had 12 or 13 guys that played the game this way, I don't know if we lose a game, fellas. And I was like, and like the conversation evolved into like the process, into like the way of thinking about like the future, because it was our last tournament, and one of the kids towards the end, he goes, I listen to you way more than I ever listen to my parents.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so
Yeah.
like that was a perspective shift, and like that's what I'm saying is like I get purpose from it. And now I have a lot of things to learn on the coaching front, no doubt, but that's where it's like, man, like I need to know what I'm saying, one, and I need to like understand what I'm saying as well in order to deliver the right message at the right time. So like that's my learning curve, and that's kind of like what I wrote is like, what is my why? It's like, well, delivering those messages. Like if one kid walks away from that a better baseball player, then I have fulfilled my duty as a coach. Now, if 5 or 15, then I'm better, right? Like But again, that's difficult.
For sure. Now, those
So,
conversations you're having when you said like you're getting into stuff after you were mentioning what you just said, like, is that a conversation you're having in a huddle
to
where you're
me,
kind of speaking aloud?
yeah, to me, it's a lot of informalness. Like
But are you
music's
talking to a group of people?
yeah, I'm talking to whoever's listening or whoever's asking questions. So like the
But
conversation
you know
is
what I mean,
just
though. Are you
like,
talking like at the end of games, before games, like like team comes together, like a
oh yeah,
huddle,
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying stuff? Is it that situation?
Nah, no, not really. It's like me in center field shagging BP with four pro ball guys around me. That's
Okay.
how I would define the conversation. And now it's 15-year-old, so there's probably eight, you know. But again, like I'm not. I'm serious. Like I'm serious about getting the work done. I'm serious about the preparation. But like I'm really loose as far as like the motions of the game, like motions of preparation. Like I don't
Yeah, there's
need
like that
like
fight. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like to me, it's a balance, right? Like I want you guys to like. I think people have more success when they have fun. Whenever they're so tight and so worried about everything, I don't see a whole lot of success from that avenue. So like
Yeah.
that is my approach to a lot of things. So like a lot of things like it's fun mannered, like light, you know, hopefully energetically producing.
Yeah. You have to ride that line of like you have to be serious because you're the authority figure. They look into you. You know,
Right.
you set the standard in that sense, but then you have to have. It's like being a parent, like the kid said. Like you have to be that type of figure where it's like you have to know how to play the cards that are handed to you in each moment. It's like, do I go in for like the authority, like to give my word, or do I go in through like the lens of being a friend and like hearing him out and letting him talk and listening. Granted, you should always listen, but like there's certain situations that will call for different things. But I'd imagine that it's a constant juggling. Knowing which one, how to play the situations when like you're talking to kids, especially because you said like they really listen. Every word they hold on to. You know,
Right.
and it comes with a lot of responsibility.
And also every word you don't say too. So like when you don't say anything, they're like, "Oh, like what? Like what's wrong there?" You know. So there's a balance there that I need to find as well as like when to bite the tongue.
Yeah, you don't want to be overdose because then you become like kind of numb to it.
Yeah, right. If every word you say is like, yeah, like it's time to put some action behind it, right?
Yeah. Now, with regard to your life now, okay, so we have Zach, the
Baseball
all-knowing,
coach.
all-knowing person that the kids look up to, right? I'd imagine these kids have this high standard of you, which obviously I'm not saying isn't deserving, but they have this high standard of you. But then there's Zach when you
I
leave the field, and there's Zach between the years by himself that has a hard time getting up out of bed in the morning, not because of like mental issues, but like the motivation to like actually get going, and you just get a
right.
little lethargic in the morning, and like just kind of you're still a kid. We're all kids that are grown ups, and like
Exactly.
what? So talk to me about that, Zach.
That guy is borderline a roller coaster ride on some days. Um and that's where this can go down the rabbit hole of like lack of purpose is that and that's where I find the lack of purpose is because I'm no longer driven by a dream. So I'm no longer driven by the possibility of becoming a big leaguer. So like I just go through the motions sometimes of like, oh, like I gotta get up today, I gotta do this, and like there's no passion, there's no purpose, there's no love for what I do, and I'm relying on an outside source to provide that rather than the inside internal drive.
I mean I feel that. Is this background noise pretty bad?
I mean, it just sounds like crickets.
Um, but no, I feel that, and with regard to the purpose, like if I didn't have the goals that I have lifting wise per se, like from the moment I retired, my purpose was to put on size. You know, that was my goal. It's like I've never been able to lift in that manner. The moment I retired, I started trying to eat more, trying to put on weight, like trying to get my arms bigger. That was a big thing, and like that was my purpose. That's where a lot of the motivation stemmed from lifting wise. So like, if I didn't have that, I'd imagine that this when you don't have a why, that was my why. You know, when you don't have that, it's tough.
Well, the next thought I had was like letting go or taking breaks in order to reveal a clearer path forward. So a lot of times, like the pressure builds and the pressure builds, and like for me, I get sucked into what's happening, and instead of like taking that step back, slowing down, which is important for me, and viewing the way forward, I just continue to just pound forward. Whereas, like, if I would take a step back and see the bigger picture, or attempt to see the bigger picture and change perspective a little bit, I think there would be less pressure and a more, like, I don't know, I don't want to say an easier path forward, but a vision forward that you can continue to roll down.
So, with regard to what was going on, what we were just talking about in terms of like having the Zach at the field versus Zach at home, this and that. What does this idea have to play with all that? Like, how does that relate to it?
Well, so I know that my best self shows up at the field. I know my best self shows up for baseball, right? So it's like, how do I continue to bring about my best self day after day, regardless of what is happening, whether regardless I'm coaching or regardless if I'm farming. So it's like finding the balance that works for both.
Well, we talked about this before.
We have, right,
It's your perception. No, no, but it's your definition actually. What is the line?
right.
What's the alpha? Technically, no, it's not supposed to line. What's the alpha? And your definition, or like, remember, like being alpha is just being you, no matter where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, or how you feel. It's like not about how strong you are or anything like that. It's like it's being able to be your authentic self, being who you are, no matter the situation you're in, no matter who you're with, what you're doing, who you're around, how you feel, and how you feel is the big one. You know, fuck's like who you're around and what you're doing. Like that, if you're in a good mood, whoever you're around is relevant. What you're doing is irrelevant. But when you're not in that mood and you feel like you're not yourself, being yourself is tough. But that's what the alpha, that's what they're capable of doing. Being who they are, no matter the situation, no matter what. And like, and the reason that quote hit me so hard when you said it, I'll never forget. Like, I heard it and it just smacked me across the face. Because that's just the truth, and that's something that I take into literally every day. Because it's like you have to show up for yourself, no matter the mood you're in. Like you have to show up for yourself. And like if you can prove yourself through doing that, then like everything else comes easier. You know. So I'm curious. Like, is that have you not? I don't mean to talk down, but like, have you lost sight of that quote per se? Like, is what?
Well,
My thing is like, what
I no longer care. I no longer
care about
care
what?
about. Well, that was my struggle. Is I no longer cared about being the alpha. Like when I'm making 200 cold calls a day, like I had the realization. I was like, they're gonna pay me regardless. Who cares? Screw it.
It's
And
getting
it
a
was like,
trap.
right. And so I did that for a day, right? And I was like, what am I doing? Like it's like, am I gonna fall into the trap of being everybody else? Like is
Mediocre.
that, yeah, is that who I am? And so then the next days it was like I think that was a Thursday or a Friday. And I came in the next week and I was like, screw it. Like just do the work, do it to the best of your ability, and who cares? Like who cares what this room of sheep think about you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And like I noticed that so much more like outside of ball, because everybody in ball has that mentality of wanting to climb the ladder. Whereas like getting into this corporate world, it's like you can get sucked into it in a hurry, and like my mediocre is normally better than anybody else's mediocre. And like I don't mean that egotistically, it just simply is because of the training, the mental training and the physical training I've already been through.
Yeah, but I'm not sitting here trying to play devil's advocate, but I'm just listening to you. Whatever this mindset you have, right? That you're just saying like your mediocre is better than someone's mediocre. That
It's
may be
bad.
true.
It's bad.
That may be true, right? But like that mindset is mediocrity. So it may be
Correct.
your mediocre may be fine now, but who's to say if you follow that trajectory for 2 weeks that your mediocre is going to be the same mediocre that was 2 weeks ago? You're going to consider, because what you're going to do is when you're a person who's in that mindset, you're going to consistently try to find the minimum.
Right.
You may be 20 steps above the minimum, but thinking you're doing mediocre, you're being mediocre. Then you may realize, well, shit, like I can get away with so much more than this. You know what I'm saying? Then you find the threshold. You get in trouble once, right? If you get slapped on the wrist, it's like, all right, that's too far. You turn into a fucking 2-year-old all over again. It's like learning what the threshold is for what you can do, and what's the bare minimum that you don't get in trouble. There you go. You live your life that way, and like that's a scary trap to go down. That's no bueno. So like,
I agree.
yeah. So like, my th- when I hear that, right, like you have a bunch of people that are making Pro Bowl, which is true, 100% correct. That like you have people that are all striving to
Hungry.
be like to
Hungry.
move up the ladder, move up the ladder. Yeah, hungry for sure. But like, I can only speak from my experience, and my experience was my play got better professionally. My play got better when my main focus wasn't getting better at baseball. And yes, that's a strange thing because I was doing things throughout that time to get better at baseball. I had significant increases in performance and output when I started focusing on really sitting into my hip and rotating through my hip rather than popping out of it. Okay, staying in my heel, rotating through instead of getting on my toe and pushing. So that was the mechanical change that I made in the offseason of 21, 22, like that offseason. Made a big difference for me. But aside from that, maybe getting my core stronger and throughout COVID and like just get my reshape my entire body. Like that adjustment I made through 2021, 2022 with that was like the main thing I did mechanically. Not much else changed. I put myself in better positions mechanically because I was able to rotate better and be able to, things happen. But like, I really think my play got better. My play got better when I started focusing on mentally who I was going out there and who am I playing for? What am I doing? What's my purpose out here? My purpose isn't to go out there and strike out the side every time. That's fleeting. And it's not going to happen every time. So it may happen once out of every 15 times. But like, what am I when I don't get that? My play got better when I realized the thing I'm going out there to do is making myself proud. Am I controlling the thoughts between my ears? Like all these things. But the thing I realized most was through the work that I was doing mentally to be better at the game of baseball, I was getting better at life and being myself.
Yeah.
So like that is what made the biggest difference in my career. And injuries did what they did. But what I'm getting at with all this, I'm going to tie it to like what we're talking about is like you have a lot of players that are playing to move up the ladder, right? But just because those players, let's say, moving up the ladder, they're not moving up the ladder in terms of getting closer to the big leagues, right? Because that's where we're at now. That's the stage we're at in our life. That doesn't mean that we're not trying to move up. You're still striving up. The striving up, and in my life, my striving up has been the exact same. Like there's no difference in my striving. And the biggest pill I had to swallow was that the striving that I'm doing can't possibly create, in the short term at least, the payout that we were capable of getting. That was the pill that I had to swallow. But it didn't mean that like I wasn't going to work any less, I wasn't going to work any less hard, or I was any different of a person. You know what I mean? Like the process is the exact same, the exact same. So like, and I told you this last week. It's like I hate when you say, I lack the discipline, or basically just that, like, because you have it. Your discipline is perfectly fine, because if you had a thing that you feel like you need to be chasing, your discipline would be perfectly fine. And yeah, of
Yeah.
course, you'd have those days where like the trainer's like, "Dude, do something." You're just being lazy. You're like, "Yeah, I know, I'm being a lazy fuck." I mean, we like you had those days, right? But like that doesn't that's not a testament to like who you are as a player. It's like, so you just have days like that, but it doesn't mean you don't have your purpose. Like that wouldn't be you every day, because you would catch yourself before someone else told you. Um, so like the discipline aspect, you don't lack the discipline,
I think
and that's what bothers me.
well,
You don't lack it.
I think leaving the game has like disrupted my routine. And so
Disrupt
like
your routine in what sense?
that it no longer revolves around like getting better at the game, like or doing the things necessary to grow at the game. So it's like I no longer have to work out. Now I should work out. But like as you were talking, I just thought it's like, what if I just trained in a different manner? What if I just trained for something different that I wanted to maximize, aka
Okay,
golf?
okay. Here's something to think about. Okay, this is a little deeper, but like, I get, yes, 100%, yes.
Go
Finding your
for it.
new passion, finding your new thing, like that's a lot of people's outlets, golf, and you know, but it can be even like something else out of that, like working towards something like your passions. Like a lot of players have their passions outside of the sports, like they have their profession, or like a lot of players have their passion for golf, and like they're looking forward to their getting out on the course the next day during the game. Like that's where their mind's at. But like what I was gonna say is, you may not have your purpose for training, where you're doing all the same bullshit, because a lot of it was bullshit. All the thrust mobility stuff, and a lot of the all shoulder stability stuff, and the amount of it we did was it necessary. You could argue whatever. I don't have the passion to do that anymore. I hope I never look at one of those little bands you put around your hips and do like the hip mobility shit with, and hip stability work.
Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rubbing the ball between your knees and like squeezing hard to like get your adductors activated, and then picking out your ankles. Like separating your ankles to get your abductor working. It's like if I never did that the rest of my life, I'll be fine. But like there's studies that show, right, like the cause of death, right? Cause of death is like 40 some percent, let's say. I think it's around there. It's like 40% for someone um, to it's 40% of someone that has like a heart disease, right? I think it's cause of death. And then like 20% of people who have some type of issue where it's like breathing issues or something of that sort, right? And like these are numbers that are real, and that's what it is. So by doing things like by doing certain things, you can increase your chances of not having, this disease, that disease, whatever, by 40%, another one by like 20%. And studies literally show that if you just focus on cardiovascular health, like VO2 max, like people usually have a higher VO2 max if they're, long distance runners per se. People with higher VO2 maxes and people who train regularly that have strong bones that do a lot of like weight resistance work to where their body is stressed. So their bones are stressed higher or stressed a lot more than the average person. Their bones become stronger, means they're more stable throughout their life. They have less osteoporosis, all these things that bone diseases that later on in life, brittle bone disease, all these things that happen later on in the populations. You have, I think it's 200 or so, 220% better of a chance to not obtain these diseases by only focusing on having a better heart health and making sure your bones are staying healthy and strong. Now, that is paraphrased to the most paraphrase you could possibly do because I don't have the study off the top of my head. But the amount of work or the amount of benefits you get from, let's say, like taking a thing or doing a little thing here, whatever it is, from like for not having heart disease, not having these diseases, whatever, it's like it's minuscule. But just by not just by doing these two things, right, maintaining your VO2 max and having strong bones, you would limit the possibility of having these diseases by 200 plus percent. Now, are you going to be thinking about this as your purpose as a 29-year-old? Probably not. But like one thing that I think of, right, and I look around and I see fat people, I'm like, at one point, they're going to have their wake up call. And it's like, what if you never get there? What if you maintain your shape? What if you maintain your fitness? What if you maintain your everything throughout it? It's like, how much better will you age? How much better will you feel? How much better is life going to be? How much better are you going to be mentally? How much more recall are you going to have cognitively? Like, I can't say this is my purpose, but like maybe broadening the scope as to the benefits of what you're doing outside of just to throw a baseball hard, you know? Maybe like that will help you with just like doing it, and
No,
like just getting something going. I don't know. This is me just like talking aloud, but like I don't know. There's so much shit out there, and there's so many people that don't do anything. And the small percentage of people that do something, it's black and white. It's not a fact, or it's not an opinion. It's a fact. Like they are better. They're healthier. They last longer. And like I don't know. I want to be that percentage of people. You know. So like I don't know. I just want a little.
no, that's a good point. In our conversation a week ago, you're like, why don't you just start small? And that definitely helped because
Yeah.
like
Well,
this week,
that's Jordan Peterson talking. That's not me.
so like, well, right, but like, same thing. So it's like, okay, if you just get the ball rolling, like the ball has
Yeah.
stopped rolling, I just have to get it rolling again, right? So it's like one thing leads to the next, it leads to the next, leads to the next, and that's literally like flow state. And I read that book, or I read a book on flow state, and like that is the optimal mental goal, is to wake up in the morning and get into flow state and never leave it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is staying in flow state for as long as possible in the morning because life's going to take you in different directions. But if you can
Right.
start your day in as long of a flow state as possible before you have to deal with, let's say, make your first decision, you're going to have a very, very good day. And
Flow.
you do that for days on end, you have very good days, plural.
My opinion is that flow state is decision making fast. It's just like it's confidently making decisions. So like a thought comes in your head, I need to eat breakfast. You eat breakfast. The next thought comes in your head is I need to go back to sleep. Nope. And then it's like, oh, okay, let's do 5 push-ups, right? Yeah. And it's just like those thoughts just keep going, and you just keep making better and better choices. In my opinion, that's what flow state is.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I can see that.
anyway,
No, I mean, I think having a healthy routine in the morning is the first place through like cognitively and spiritually and
where it starts,
emotional health. I
it
mean,
definitely
it
starts there
starts
for
there.
sure. Yep.
Because like the whole idea of like being in that flow for as long as possible before you're making your first decision. Let's say like life's going to take you in certain directions you're not going to understand. You're not going to see it coming, and it's just going to happen. And the goal is to, if the first time you get taken out of flow state, where you go and how long it takes you to get back, that learning curve, that bell, that whatever you want to call it, the bell curve needs to flatten out. And like the more time you can limit getting back to it, getting in, getting out, getting back in, that's I feel like
that's where the alpha is.
Yeah,
That's what the alpha is
100%.
very good at. That's what the alpha is very good at. Um, but like that's what I was getting at last week when I said that was like, dude, I've listened to Jordan Peterson talk ample amounts of time, like just dude, so many times. Like yeah, these people clinically they're talking about having depression and this and that, and it's just like, all right, like look at like I remember this one guy. He's like, he couldn't do his resume, like he couldn't work on his resume, and he would like show up. The next week he'd come back and he's like, did you work on it? He's like, nope. Next week came back, did you work on your resume? Nope. And so Jordan's like, all right, how about you just look at it? Okay. Next week came back, did you look at it? Why? I couldn't. Okay. Well, how about you just sit down and tell yourself that you're going to look at it and just be in the presence of it. Okay, I think I can do that. Okay. Did you do it? Uh-huh. Okay. Did you do it again the next week? Uh-huh. Well, how about this time you grab it, like you touch it, print it out, and you hold it. Okay, I think I can do that. Well, that process led to him eventually looking at the resume and dealing with what the inadequacies that he believed that it obtained of his life, all the
Yeah.
failures and the person that he's ashamed of being. I don't fucking know, but small steps led to him doing the actual task. So, are you in that spot? No, I'd imagine not. But like I was saying, it's like you want to go for a 30-minute run or run, however, like do that and do yoga for like 15, 20 minutes. It's like, all right, well, how about you start with yoga or stretch for 5 minutes? You know what I mean? And like start with stretching for 5 minutes and see if you can obtain that, and like it just builds. So that's what I was getting at. Like everything, like in that sense, like Jordan Peterson has really talked about the benefits of just it compounds. It
Right.
compounds,
Yeah.
but it can't compound. Money can't compound if you don't make 1 cent. You know, so like the old saying is like, would you rather get paid a cent? What is it? Would you rather get paid 1 cent or $1 per day and have it multiply each day, or would you rather take $1 million? And like the average person would be like, oh, I want to take $1 million up front. It's like, well, if you take $1 per day for a whole month, that multiplies each day. By the end of the month, you'll have more than $1 million. I mean, that's the whole point. It's like compound, so it'll just build. Um, but dude, it just goes back to the things like discipline, man. You don't fucking lack the discipline, and I hate when you say that. You don't lack, you don't lack the discipline. You don't lack it. I think it's just I I was there last year. It's like you need to just find that thing, like, but that passion of
It's
yours,
the purpose. Yeah, it's purpose, right? And
Yeah,
that's our conclusion we come to is finding your purpose.
yeah. And it sounds like you have a lot of passion and a lot of purpose in teaching these kids, you
I
know?
do.
And, at a bare minimum, it's like at a certain point, if you want to do this, you want to be a good coach, right? You don't want to outlive your teachings. Like you want to be a good example for these players. Like your lessons that you teach these players can't be the same lessons that you're teaching them at 29 versus 35, right? Like the lessons that you're teaching these kids has to evolve with your evolution as a person. And the only
100%.
way that's
Amen.
possible, yeah, the only way that's possible is if you're putting the work in on yourself. So like that's not a reason to do it every day, but scope looking into, the future, it's like if you want to be the best coach, best father, whatever you want to be, which we all want to be that, it's like the prerequisite to that is to put in the work on yourself so you have the wisdom to share with people, and like in hopes what you can do is you can share the process. You're not sharing where you're at because the likelihood of you being able to tell someone where you're at right in this moment that's never started, you're going to scare them away, you know but you bring them to the journey that you went through, where you started and where you're at, and it's like maybe one day that person will just catch up to you. That's the hope. If you're mentoring someone, that's you can't get any better than that, you know but like you have to be putting in the work on a daily basis to being the person that you're being the person that you want them to believe that you are. Because it sounds like that's what the dilemma you're in. It's like these kids think of you, rightfully so. They think of you as this incredible guy, knows so much shit, chill, has wisdom, but like knows has a very, loose and free way of sharing it. Easy to be around, easy to converse with. Like they look up to you as like, I want to be that when I'm 29. But then like you look yourself in the mirror and it's like, are you proud of the 29-year-old you are? And it's like, I don't know. Some days maybe yes, some days maybe not. I don't know. Like, that's personal. But like, I take a lot of pride in the sense that like I'm the same person when I'm alone versus when I'm with 100 people. And
Right.
like, I feel like we're all capable of that, and you are capable of that, and you do that. It's just like you tell yourself you lack discipline.
I do think it is a bit of an exaggeration at times, right? But I blow my problems out of proportion. But
Fair.
right? But there are things that need to change that I know that need to change, and without magnifying them, I'll never change them.
Well, listen, you judge yourself based off the way you judge others. If you heard someone else, let's say, teaching these kids, teaching these things, right? And you heard that they lived a lifestyle different than what they're teaching on a daily basis, you'd look at them and you would say, fucking fraud, loser. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
something along those lines. You'd be like, you're not worthy of teaching what you think you're teaching. You're a person that's teaching something you've never done, you never lived.
Right.
So like you judge others based off the way you want to be, the way you judge yourself. Or I'm sorry, you judge yourself based off how you perceive others judge you. And you judge others based off how you think. You judge others based off the way you assume they're going to judge you. It's equal. And we talked about judging, but like judgment is.
But we need to stop right here though, for real. We need to stick to our time. We need to stick to our time management skills.
Yeah, I agree.
Aha.
But yeah. So I don't mean to be some.
So next week.
But...
No, you are very knowledgeable, and you are also filled with wisdom as well. So, but next week we will dive into a new topic.
Beautiful. Maybe next week you'll come in and you'll say, Hey man,
I have a full week of my whys.
I stretched for 35 minutes this week. 5 minutes each day.
And it led me to run every day.
Yeah. And now I want to run a marathon.
And now I'm running a marathon. And that's where we stop.